NEPM's podcasts are funded by Armbrook Village Senior Living in Westfield, offering assisted living and compass memory support with evidence-based treatment for those with memory loss. More at armbrookvillage.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we'll learn all about the letter that left our alphabet to join the punctuation side of things with word nerd Emily Brewster from Merriam Webster.
And we'll meet the first artists presenting their work as a part of this year's Pay It Forward grant recipients at City Space, Mal Devisa, or Deja Carr.
That's her real name.
That's her real name. We'll bring the curated show Never a Stranger to Home to Easthampton tomorrow night.
But first, Congressman Jim McGovern also happened to watch the debate this past Tuesday.
Ooh, what do you think?
Hey, how are you?
Good, and you?
Good.
You got a little bit of spring in your voice. Does it have to do with the
feel
debate?
Good.
Time for our weekly check-in with U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts, Worcester's own Congressman Jim McGovern. And all of the headlines 2 days out are still all about the debate. Did you watch it anywhere special? Watch it at home?
I was at my place in Washington, and I watched it alone, just in case.
Yes.
I didn't want to be with a group of people.
We were with a big group of people
But
that NEPM gathered together in Amherst. It was interesting to gather the crowd reaction. However, I mean, we were in the People's Republic of Amherst, so you kind of knew what they were going to react to there. Any standout moments for you, or one particular standout moment, maybe?
Well, I was surprised that he kept on taking the bait. I mean, it wasn't like he didn't know that she was going to try to get him to appear unhinged, but when she talked about his crowd sizes and how he was boring, he just exploded.
And I think that was about 3 minutes into the debate. I mean, it wasn't like he had a very long period of time before taking that first bait.
This guy doesn't have the temperament to be president. Forget about his policies, but he doesn't have the temperament. And this is all about him. It's a big ego trip. And I thought it was pathetic, quite frankly. It reminded me of, for those who ever watched that movie, The Caine Mutiny, it was like Captain Queeg kind of unraveling right before our very eyes.
The key was not imaginary. And I don't know anything about mess boys eating strawberries.
And I hope it's a reminder to people why he is so dangerous. And, his comments on women's reproductive rights was just crazy. And when he cites his heroes, he cites Viktor Orban, a dictator. This guy not only needs to be defeated, I'm hoping that he loses big, because I really do think the Republican Party needs to reinvent itself. They need to understand that their future is not in embracing the crazy. I mean, people who are talking about Asian migrants, stealing people's pets and eating them. I mean, these are crazy conspiracy theories that he talks about in the debate for President of the United States. Again, I thought she did really well, and she was incredibly cool and knowledgeable about the issues, and she kept on trying to bring it back to policy, which I thought was important. But we'll see what the polling shows over the weekend. But if you would ask me, I thought she won hands down.
It's been interesting to observe the debate from more conservative media outlets. The Drudge Report, which used to be the far right, but now seems, downright even tempered with Matt Drudge at the helm of that news aggregate site. Yeah. The headline after the debate yesterday morning was a picture of Donald Trump surrounded by cats with 2 words, "the end," over it. The Republican spin doctor Frank Lutz, who has worked for many Republican campaigns and actually has some connections to Western Massachusetts, he also said that that's it for Donald Trump, that he believes that debate was the end. After the last debate between former President Trump and President Biden, your party, the Democrats, went into full-on meltdown mode, and in some ways did reinvent yourself. The party leadership said, we need to do something here. Something was done. Congress is in session. You are in Washington, D.C. I know that Republicans have candid conversations with you that they may not have as publicly. Yep. Is there similar chatter in the Republican Party that a major restructuring needs to happen, and maybe even before November?
Yeah, a lot of Republicans I've talked to, are horrified by his performance the other night. But it's really too late. Voting has already begun. In some states, early voting has already begun. And who's the alternative? J.D. Vance, who seems to be equally as wacky as Donald Trump. But the voting has begun. This is their candidate. And quite frankly, many of them are still afraid of him. Trump still controls the base of the Republican Party. And any mild criticism of him, they believe he will turn his ire on them, and, they won't win. They'll have trouble winning re-election. And we have some Republicans, again, who supported other candidates for the Republican nominee, and Trump campaigned against them. And one of them, this Representative Bob Good from Virginia, lost his primary. And so they're still afraid of him. So I think the American people, if they can give Kamala Harris a resounding victory and reject Trump and all this MAGA garbage, I think that will probably result in kind of a moment where they all have to decide what the future is. And is there future in MAGA, or is there a future in bringing people who are semi-sane to the forefront as their candidates? And so we'll see what happens. It's not over. It's not over yet. So we still have several weeks to go before the election. And in politics, a week can be a lifetime. So Democrats can't get complacent. And we also need to understand the importance of winning down ballot races. We need to win back the House. If you want Kamala Harris to be able to do stuff, she needs to have a Congress that she can work with.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, talking about Tuesday night's debate, reproductive rights was a major issue of the debate. Trump himself, if not his whole party, has changed his tone in a lot of ways in response to abortion, knowing that it's sort of a losing issue, and has lost in states where you wouldn't expect it to be as controversial a topic, where people are actually voting in favor of reproductive rights, specifically with IVF. Donald Trump declared himself a leader in IDF now, and I'm hearing back channel chatter that the Republicans are upset that he has embraced this sort of last minute, knowing that it was a losing issue to not support that. Are you hearing similar things from the other side of the aisle?
He's trying to have it all different ways. I mean, as you saw in the debate, he's proud that he's, this anti-choice candidate, and then he says, when asked, would you veto a national abortion ban? He couldn't answer it. It's a simple question. The answer is no, or yes. I mean, and he couldn't answer that question. And then he says it's because Democrats believe in abortion after somebody's born. I mean, which is just crazy stuff that comes out of his mouth. So he's all over the place, even on whether he won the election. He did a radio interview in which he said he lost by a whisker. And then he, again, get criticized by the hardline right, saying, why did we storm the Capitol if you lost the election? Mm-hmm. And then he changed back again to saying that the election was rigged and stolen from him. Let me just tell you what's happening in the Congress. Republicans are trying to push these kind of really awful voting bills that would suppress people's ability to vote. I mean, the so-called SAVE Act, which they say is about keeping undocumented immigrants from voting in elections. It is so restrictive that if you're in the armed forces, you cannot use your military ID to show that you are legally able to vote. I mean, this is crazy stuff. But they're starting to sow all these conspiracies because I think they feel they're going to lose, and they need some basis to say the election was rigged. So we need to win, but we also need to be vigilant that there may be violence after the election, I'm sad to say, which really troubles me. And it's being stoked in the House of Representatives, and this call for violence is being stoked by Trump. These are very, very perilous and dangerous times. Everybody has to be aware of what's happening here.
We do live in scary times, and we live in what may be considered an era of post-truth, and with artificial intelligence and all these things swirling all the time. It was interesting to watch the moderators from ABC fact-check in real time at least certain things that mostly Donald Trump said, but also occasionally Kamala Harris. If we live in a time where we know that there are verifiable lies that are easy to call out as lies are being said by a major party candidate, does it behoove Vice President Kamala Harris to use rhetoric that is misleading? There's a New York Times breakdown of a fact check of the debate. And, saying things like Donald Trump calling for a bloodbath if he loses the election, I've watched that in context. And I agree with the people that say he was saying it would be a bloodbath for the American auto industry, not an actual bloodbath like might happen if there's actual violence. Does it behoove Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party to bend the truth like this in an era where it is extraordinarily hard, if not impossible, to believe almost anything that comes out of the other party's mouth?
Look, I'm somebody who believes, you ought to stick to the facts, period. I think the facts themselves are damning enough. You don't need to exaggerate or bend the truth to make the point. But having said all that, don't forget, this is a president who actually did call for people to engage in violence.
So why not stick to that then? Why keep bringing up this bloodbath topic, which it's easily debunked if you watch the clip?
Yeah. Well, maybe she shouldn't. I mean, but because he said enough other stuff.
Nope. Now the NSA has interrupted us.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, look, she should stick to the facts because there's enough that he said that is unhinged that gives her material to be able to talk about. I'm going to tell you, people thought he was unhinged during the debate. You ain't seen nothing yet. until you see him on election night if he loses. And the really sad thing is that some of the mainstream media has sane-washed a great deal of the crazy stuff that he has said, and it's just Donald Trump. Well, we expect this from Donald Trump. This is not unusual, which I think is dangerous as well. But this is a man who's not going to go quietly into the night. And I have to tell you, I worry about not only his rhetoric, but about what's happening here in Congress and some of the things that people are bringing up. And we have members of Congress. I mean, Jim Jordan retweeted the conspiracy theory about Haitian migrants stealing cats and eating them. I mean, this is crazy stuff.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, another factor right after the debate was the endorsement of Taylor Swift, where she said that this was an important time. She signed her endorsement on Instagram as a childless cat lady in reference to comments that were made by Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance. According to Heather Cox Richardson, by 2 o'clock yesterday afternoon, there were 337,000 new people who started the process of registering to vote. According to what I've read, in 2020, across battleground states, 81,000 people was about the number that tipped the balance in favor of President Joe Biden. In Congress, is the Taylor Swift endorsement having any traction? I know J.D. Vance has said no one cares what a billionaire who's out of touch with the issues thinks about politics, which made me wonder whether he was talking about his running mate, but he was actually talking about Taylor Swift. Is Taylor Swift a factor in Congress?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us would love her endorsement. I mean, she has the following, it's kind of beyond her music. I mean, my wife is a big Taylor Swift fan. So is my daughter.
What? And you're not? Are you saying you're not? Wait a minute. This is breaking news.
No,
is Jim McGovern a Swiftie or not?
No, I'm not. No, I'm a fan of everybody. But
look what you made me do, Congressman.
I know. But it is significant. You need more than endorsements, but certain endorsements are important. And I think that Taylor Swift's endorsement carries a lot of weight. There are people who follow her and who care about what she says. And I think her saying that, look, I watched the debate, and after watching the debate, this is what I believe, and I urge you to go out and register to vote and participate in this election. And to the extent that she can get more people to register to vote, that's a good thing.
But are the Republicans in Congress worried? Like, do you hear people on the Republican side of the aisle worried that Taylor Swift has now done this?
I think they are worried. Well, I mean, they're worried about a lot of things. I think her endorsement of Kamala Harris is something Republicans don't welcome, but they're not happy this week because they think that their candidate did a lousy job in the debate. And increasingly, I think they're realizing that Trump is speaking and trying to appeal to a narrower and narrower slice of our country. I mean, I never thought I would say this, but boy, Dick Cheney did something good. I mean, when Dick Cheney says, I can't support this guy because I'm worried about the future of our democracy. Dick Cheney still has a following amongst hardline right-wing Republicans, and he's basically saying, look, forget about our differences on abortion or our differences on climate change or whatever, or our differences on how we deal with the world. I'm telling you, I'm worried about our country. I'm worried about whether this country has a future if this guy becomes president. All these things, when you add them all up, I think they do make a difference.
Speaking with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern, back to at least the attempt of the business of McGoverning in the House of Representatives. Yesterday, Speaker Johnson pulled a vote on a bill that was trying to keep the government running. There is a stopgap in place that needs to be renewed or changed or something by October 1st. What's going on with this same old story that we've seen so many times already with this Congress?
So I've said this before, but one of the things that Kevin McCarthy did that was particularly harmful to the institution was he basically gave away all the speaker's power. He conceded to a rule change that said that any one individual in Congress can move to oust the speaker as many times as they want. That's how Kevin McCarthy lost his speakership. Speaker Johnson lives in fear of that every single day. And so, the Marjorie Taylor Greene wing of the party is saying, even though we agreed to spending numbers, keep the government running, we want to renege on that. And by the way, we want to add a lot of junk to it. Like, for example, we want to add the SAVE Act so that it is easier to suppress people's ability to vote in the upcoming election. They can't get a majority of the Republicans to vote for some of this stuff. It's so crazy. So the speaker pulled it because it was going to go down to defeat. What he needs to do is just bring a clean, continuing resolution to the floor for 3 months. All of our work should have been done by now, but it's not. So let's keep the government running till after the election, come back, and then work on a year-long spending bill to keep the country on the right track for next year. That's what needs to be done, and I expect that we will get a clean CR coming up in the next week or so. But again, we're going through all this drama leading up to it.
One question about, I guess, civics in the modern era. You were on the floor of the House yesterday talking about how Republicans were infighting about the rules of 6 different bills. And you mentioned on the floor that every minute I look at my phone, I see another Republican defecting from their own bills, from their own rules.
Right.
Which, is an issue in and of itself. I want to know about the technology. What's this technology that you're using that your phone is telling you what Republicans are voting for what? Is there like an app that tells you who's on what with which issue?
No, I'm just reading the text from various Capitol Hill reporters who are posting.
I see.
Congressperson so-and-so is he or she is a no.
So there's not like a real-time whip app that tells you who's been whipped up to what. Would that be cool?
But I get updates from various news sources, and literally, I mean, during the debate, like 3 or 4 people, Republicans, announced they were not going to vote for some of these bills. It just kind of tells you, that again, they're in control, and they can't even get their majority to actually advance legislation.
Last question for you, Congressman. Are you in control of your own Twitter account, or does your staff tweet for you?
Both.
Okay.
We do both. Sometimes I need to be edited.
I think there may be other political figures who should rely on that editing, but don't. You tweeted this week that you were at the Queer Art and Fashion Festival in Worcester.
Yeah.
And the tweet said, "Great to attend the Queer AF Festival tonight in Worcester. Love Trump's hate." Yeah. Do you know what Queer AF means, Congressman?
I do.
Okay.
I do, and I can't repeat it on the. Yeah.
Was it you that tweeted that, or was that your staff, and it was with a little wink and a nod?
No, so that was me. But I was told afterwards that I probably shouldn't have done it. You know what? That's what it was, and it was fine. It was great. It was a wonderful evening, and so you know what? I mean, it is what it is. But sometimes I need to be edited, not in terms of the content overall, but in terms of how I state things. So
yeah, NEPM has an asparagus festival, and we have stickers and things that say Western Mass AF. So I'm all for it.
Right. So this could have been an asparagus festival thing. So
exactly.
Absolutely. But anyway, I have to tell you, as we end the week, I do have a bounce in my step and a song in my heart, and I'm feeling hopeful, and I hope this lasts through Election Day, because again, I really do believe that there's so much at stake, and it is about our democracy, and it is about our freedoms. You see some of the stuff that Trump's been posting, again, promising to jail political opponents. After the debate, he's now saying that if he becomes president, he wants to pull ABC's license because he didn't like the way he was treated during the debate. This is crazy stuff, and we have to stand up and we have to push back. But I'm feeling good at the end of this week.
U.S. Congressman from the 2nd Congressional District of Massachusetts joins us every week, although we may have to alter that in the weeks coming up since you do have someone on the ballot against you. We may continue to talk, but just welcome your opponent on every week as well. That could be fun. But you can send your questions for the Congressman to us at thefab413@nepm.org. Thanks so much, Congressman.
All the best. Thanks.
Later in the show, the mystery of the 27th letter of the English alphabet and how it involves volcanoes with Emily Brewster, senior editor at Merriam Webster in Springfield. But up next, Deja Carr, a.k.a. Mal Devisa. She is the first performance in this year's Pay It Forward series at City Space in Easthampton. And we'll talk with Deja, her collaborator, Michael Hanson, and City Space program manager, Zoe Fieldman.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
NEPM's podcasts are funded by Armbrook Village Senior Living in Westfield, with support services designed to help seniors age in place, including a Compass Memory Support Neighborhood. More at armbrookvillage.com.
Honey lover, keeper of the bee.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We welcome to the studio Deja Carr, a.k.a. Mal Devisa. Deja is a force of songwriting, liberation, and poetry, and tomorrow, Friday, September 13th, she'll present Never a Stranger to Home in City Space's Blue Room, a night where music, dance, video, and poetry collide in a genre-defying performance.
As part of her Pay It Forward residency, Deja is pushing the boundaries of sound, light, movement, and words alongside a collective of visionary artists. After the show, there'll be a talk-back session with local creative powerhouse house, Michael Hanson, and we are joined in the studio by the aforementioned Michael Hanson and Deja Carr, as well as the program and venue manager for City Space, Zoe Fieldman. Thanks, everybody, for coming in here.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, what's up?
So we were talking with you, Zoe, when the grants for Pay It Forward were open and available to the public. Which grant is this out of the 10?
Yes, well, so this is actually the kickoff performance of the program series.
Hey!
So this is the first of 10 performances you can catch at City Space through the Pay It Forward program. All of the awards are the same. Every artist and project gets the same level of assistance and stipend and everything. And this is the first show of the season, and we're really excited to be kicking it off with Deja.
Tell us where the money for these Pay It Forward programs comes from. Who's funding all this and being able to incubate this much art in one place in Easthampton?
Yeah, so we have a slew of great sponsors as well as individual donors and grants that all come together to make it possible.
Deja, you're number one and up tomorrow at the City Space. You grew up here in the Valley. You've been playing music here for as long as I've been in the Valley, I think, for 20 some odd years. Maybe I'm overestimating it, but
I think a little bit, because I'm only 27, so I would have had to start playing music professionally at 7 years old.
Well, yeah, okay. But you've been playing a good long time.
Good long time, yeah.
And Khalees and I are huge fans.
Oh, thank you.
I performed with Deja before.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Deja did the music for one of the iterations of For Color Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Which is where we met.
Yes.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
That's how I started in radio, actually. It's weird. It's a long, convoluted...
Valley.
The roads lead so far away, and yet they all come back here.
Right. And that may be an apt way to talk about what you've been funded for through this Pay It Forward program. It's called Never a Stranger to Home. Tell us about what you've done with this project and what it's all about.
Yeah. I basically approached City Space and applied for the grant, and then they let me know that I was able to do a show, and then I thought about what I would want to do, but I didn't have a definitive, just music or just poetry. And it's also, as a professional musician, no one's, coming to see me do poetry, really. Yeah. So I just wanted to combine things that I knew that I had a background in and things that I was really interested in, like film or video and poetry. So it's going to be all of those things just kind of smushed together because it's all things that I just really love. And people who I really, love and admire in the room. So I think Never a Stranger to Home is basically just a play on the fact that I can play shows around the world or around the country, but I'll never be a stranger to Western Mass.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Is that a good relationship, do you think? Is it a complicated relationship?
It's amazing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, even in high school or in college, going on tour and coming back home to Amherst and getting off the exit and being like, oh, wow. Uh-huh. It was such an amazing feeling. So I just really feel blessed to have been able to find this place.
I would also argue that as musicians, it's not so much that people don't want to hear you come and do poetry, is that they're used to having your poetry have backing. So when that's removed, they're like, how do I process this different aspect of this person that I've become close to this aspect of their art with? So it's all still there.
Thank you.
It's also cool, that there's a program that can fund these things, that can give you the opportunity to make these experiments so that people don't, feel like, well, I came to see Deja play the bass and that's that. You know what I mean? It lets you creatively spread your wings. So you've talked a little bit about some of the things that we'll see there. Who are the other collaborators or you said people that you love who will be in the room?
We got Mike Hanson, who's the homie.
He's here in the studio with us.
I think we're going to have a dance piece by my friend Mars. They are amazing. And then I asked a good friend of mine, Ruviender / God's Wisdom, to do a set.
So is this more like my curation under an umbrella, or you gave everybody a theme to work with and they're bringing that to the table?
No, people can do whatever they like.
The theme is experimentation, and it's Never a Stranger to Home in City Space's Blue Room in Easthampton on Friday. Michael Hanson, tell us what you'll be doing. I know you're part of the Q&A. We mentioned that at the beginning. Tell us how you're involved in this project and your relationship to Deja.
Yeah. Deja is, as aforementioned, the homie. I think a lot of my role, as I'm kind of intuiting it, is bottling up our phone conversations.
Yeah, no,
You've secretly been recording them? No.
No, I mean, this is the thing. I feel like I'm like local producer, and it's kind of bordering into just general creative because I've been in film and doing a lot of editing and doing a lot of shooting and stuff.
Some of which for NEPM.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
It's true.
Go, Michael.
But no, the energy, I think, with my conversations with Deja always feel like they're of the ilk of, like, what are we doing as creatives? What is our relationship to the space that we are in, and how does that become what we project out there? That seems to be an underlying theme of a lot of our conversations, and they go all sorts of different ways, but I feel like bringing that into maybe profile Deja as a person and profile, like, the energy and the vision and the heart of Deja's kind of like what my job is there, because I feel like the conversations that we have are usually dope and they're always like in a black box. so it's like, all right, let's try couches, let's try microphones, let's see what that brings.
Tell us what you think makes Deja a special artist.
Deja's heart, for sure. I think that you'd be hard pressed to find someone who cares as much for the spark of God that's in other people, you know, as readily as Deja. Like, I sometimes think that I'm, like, open-minded to, like, okay, like, what is someone offering? What does someone bring to the table? Or what's the cool aspect of? But I feel like Deja's turned me on to and been the most open to and, like, heard the most precisely the spark of God that's in, like, the people's, and we'll name it. We'll call it. We'll do more than just, like, I think this person is dope. Like, we'll interact with the thing that makes that person interesting or compelling to you. You have good eyes on that. And I feel like that comes out in your like you know what inspiration looks like. Like, some people are like, where's creativity? And I feel like we both know it's not that crazy, but it is something that you have to tune inside of yourself. Deja's the god on that one.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's a wonder. I mean, anytime I've ever had the opportunity to see Deja, it is like a spiritual experience. It is knock your socks off good.
So then, is there something really grounding about your friends who create in this area that affects what you create also?
Definitely. And I look for collaboration as much as possible, which is different from how I used to operate as an artist. And I just love seeing people thrive. Like, creatively, it's one of my favorite things. And I was looking at my, like, Instagram log at who I've been talking to, and I realized that, like, everybody was international. And I was like, that's such an amazing thing. Like, that's such a gift. Other people's inspiration and other people's doings as artists really inspire me. I'm really inspired by a lot of different artists.
Coming up, we'll hear about some of the other Pay It Forward performances at City Space in Easthampton.
And we'll hear one more from Deja Carr about what other art forms the Pay It Forward program grant allowed her to nurture.
And later, the mystery of the missing 27th letter of the alphabet with word nerd Emily Brewster.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
If I knew your name.
We're speaking with Deja Carr, a.k.a. Mal Devisa, who will be presenting Never a Stranger to Home in City Space's Blue Room Friday, September 13th. Tomorrow, it's the first of the 10-part Pay It Forward series. Zoe Fieldman, who is the program and venue manager there, I don't expect you to have the other 9 memorized, but a couple ones that we may be expecting in the future going forward here that we can be looking forward to?
So basically every weekend there's going to be something great at City Space coming up, starting this weekend. The following weekend you can see The Tragedy of Michael Hanson with Suraj and Rose. Then after that we have the Magid Ensemble presenting a klezmer and cranky piece called The Lost Voice of Stirna. Going forward, the Grotesque Burlesque is going to be doing some great things. We have Tender Spot doing Witch Punk the Musical. There's going to be further down the road a play about tarot. There's going to be
Indie.
Oh, Indy is going to, yeah. Please come out to Indy's show. A lot of these are super multidisciplinary projects, I think, especially like you were talking about, because of the safety net of getting to do exploration and creativity. And it's been really awesome to talk to Deja and watch her kind of grow this performance from a bunch of different ideas into one solid, cohesive thing.
You have a lot of different forms of art in this. Like, you got music, you got dance, you got video, you got poetry. Is there anything in this show that you didn't have a chance to really work with before, but that has been artistically liberating?
Yeah, I've been writing monologues for a long time, and I wrote one about my dad and posted it on Instagram. My mom was like, how did you make him sound so cute? Like, and I was like, what? But I love monologues and I love Black experimental theater. I learned a lot about it in my 2 years at Hampshire. So theater is one of them, body movement, modern dancing. I took West African dancing when I was a child. I would love to do that for a show one day, but I'm really, really shy about dancing. So y'all won't see me dance anytime soon. But
Next grant.
yeah, next grant. Y'all give me 2 times that and I'll start dancing.
Heard.
Nah, I'm just playing.
Deja, you mentioned, we've been saying how you grew up here and that this place gives you that sense of home, but you have played all over the place and you have all these global connections. Talk about the scene here, the art scene, not just the place and the space, but the connections that you have artistically here. What do those mean to you?
You gotta do the tagline now.
Tagline.
What's the tagline?
You gotta do that. You gotta do the. I'm not good at it. It's changing. The scene is changing.
It is changing. Yeah.
I remember in high school we would go out to shows and I'd be like maybe 17 and didn't drink. I don't drink now, but it was just like a mix of all different sorts of people. But it's interesting to be in this physical area because there's 5 colleges, so it's like on a rolling basis. There's like 4 years of certain people, then they're gone, and there's 4 years of new people, and that just kind of like has been my whole life here.
There's people that stick around.
But there are definitely people who stick around. But the scene is amazing. It's amazing. I've seen Esperanza Spalding here. I've seen folks like Kim Gordon.
Who also used to live here.
Yeah, and who is amazing, and who's doing a lot of really good work with More Mother.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're playing some shows.
I got to see More Mother at Big Ears. Not
Oh
last
my
year,
gosh.
the year before. It was last year because she was part of the Black Tronica thing they were doing.
Yeah, she's incredible.
She's so sick.
Incredible. We played together in Boston a little while ago.
Nice.
And it was so much fun. And her set made me cry. I was just like, my brain is open. That's someone who I think is one of the people who really inspired me to think outside of the box. Like I just got a saxophone.
Wow.
And so I'm relearning how to play the saxophone. And so I've just been making any sound that the saxophone can make. And I just feel so like attached to this instrument that I really can't play yet. But she can do anything.
What's your favorite thing that you've built for this particular show?
I just moved into low-income housing in Amherst, and I'm really excited about it. I was basically living in like a whole group home before, and it was really depressing. And I just moved into like my own apartment, and it's like my first apartment. I've been doing these like late-night Cumbies runs, because Cumbies is right across the street, and I've been getting coffee, and then the other day I watched Zizek's film about philosophy and just wrote like 4 poems. So all the new poems I've been writing.
Nice.
I think I have 8 in a folder. And yesterday I watched a really amazing movie about a therapist and just wrote down keywords of what he was saying and then expounded on it for a verse of poetry. And then there's one new song that I posted that I'm extremely excited about. And that's not finished, and I have to finish it before the show.
Good luck. You got it. You got this.
I have a bunch of old songs, but I know y'all gotta be tired of these songs. Like
no one's tired.
I don't
of
think we're
these
tired of
songs.
them.
Other people are not as tired of those songs as you're tired of them.
I feel you, but I'm just like, dang.
Yeah, but you got to keep the artist alive in you. So if you want to do the new songs, we want that too.
I gotta do the new songs.
Yeah.
I have that talk with my bandmates all the time. They're like, these songs are great. I'm like, but I'm tired of these songs. We need to make new songs. And they're like, but we should record these songs. And I'm like, but new work.
Yeah. That happened with Who the Funk It a lot. We were like playing the old songs and we were like, we have got to write something new. It's like a comfort thing.
The building of the thing is the comfort too.
Yeah.
Like when you get uncomfortable with the stuff that you already have, you're like, okay, well, let me grow this new shell and see if I've got, like, see if I can fit in this, see what this looks like, see what this new chrysalis is. Mm-hmm. Thank you for acknowledging that, because I have problems like describing that feeling of like feeling like stayed and like too much in one place when not building something.
That's how I feel all the time as an artist.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to our talk.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Zoe, if you've been inspired by all this art talk and you're somebody who might be interested in the Pay It Forward program in the future, when will the next round of applications be ready to go?
So next round is probably going to open up about the same time that they opened up this year, which was, I think, in May or June.
Okay, so you got time.
You got time, but if you want to get involved in
April,
another
because
way,
it closed at the end of May.
it opens at the beginning of spring, closes at the end of spring. And then summer is really about getting everyone organized, making selections, getting everything set up to go, and fall is really about seeing a lot of great art. But if you want to get involved in another way, before the next round of applications go out, we are always accepting volunteers at City Space. Great way to get a free ticket to a great show and meet great artists and help out the artistic community, because we need y'all. And we have a lot of great volunteers that are, City Space wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah, and there's plenty of really good shows that happen outside of Pay It Forward, too.
Zoe Fieldman, who is the program and venue manager for City Space in Easthampton, where Friday, Michael Hanson will be in conversation and artistic collaboration with none other than Deja Carr, a.k.a. Mal Devisa, all of whom have joined us here today. Thank you all so much.
Thank
you for having us.
And also go back in time in our archives to hear some of Michael Hanson's music as Father Hotep from our show about New Year's
first night.
Yeah, big time.
And next week, we'll talk with another Pay It Forward grant recipient, so look forward to that. As you probably know, there are 26 letters in the English alphabet.
But there used to be 27. What was this mystery letter?
And where did it emigrate to? We'll find out when we talk with word nerd Emily Brewster from Merriam Webster next.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
NEPM's podcasts are funded by Armbrook Village, offering research-based arts, music, fitness, and lifelong learning programs at their assisted living and Alzheimer's care community in Westfield. armbrookvillage.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering co-op advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Did you have fun at the Franklin County Fair?
I did. Spent so much stinking money.
Yeah.
Oh, grief.
Did you go on any rides?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you go on?
I went on the Twister ride with my son. So we're in this, like, one of these, it's kind of a floaty open capsule, and there's a wheel in the middle that someone who's really determined to drive the other person crazy can turn.
Oh, yeah. I make them sick. I love those rides.
Yeah. So I rode on that with my 13-year-old, and he just turned it maniacally the entire time. And I just focused on his beautiful face, and I was fine. It was like a very zen moment.
It's the same principle you use when doing pirouettes. You pick a point, and as long as you're focusing on that point, you don't get dizzy and fall over.
Yeah, usually the point you focus on during a pirouette is not so aggressively trying to make you sick.
Orchestrate your doom.
Yeah.
And my 88-year-old mother-in-law and I did the surf slide down on the burlap.
Those are super, super fun.
They're fun. And
I love that one.
And Dottie's the best.
Yeah.
I went on the Zipper, which was
nice.
a big flippy ride with Enzo. I went on the Ferris wheel with Melissa, and then I watched my next-door neighbor's rock band from Matt Kim's School of Rock rock it out. It was pretty awesome.
The Zipper is the one that I feel like in videos I've seen fail the most often.
Well, I'm glad you told me now, not before.
Okay.
Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam Webster, our dictionary in Springfield. We got some fan mail that was really nice from a person named Kathy saying, although I always listen to 88.5 on my morning commute, I have to share that I do not usually listen on the way home from school. I'm usually too cooked to digest any information. I'm a special ed teacher who works with middle school students. Today I was planning to talk my son through his homework plan, and I quickly reached to turn off the radio as soon as the car started. You can't even imagine the shock and excitement that surged through me when I heard the word sesquipedalophobia. I often pitch a challenging word to students at the beginning of our time together to empower them, because if they can decode it, they can decode anything. She goes on to say that she's going to use this in her classroom. Pretty awesome. Thank you, Kathy, for sending that along to the Word Nerd. And I'll say, before we officially begin here, that if you have a question or a compliment of the Word Nerd, you can send it to us at thefab413@nepm.org. But we're talking about something ancient today, Emily Brewster. What are we talking about?
You're talking about an ancient orthographical system and a little known fact about our very own dear alphabet.
Oh.
How many letters are in the alphabet?
26 now.
27
Yes.
previous.
Oh, Khalees, you already know what I'm going to say, don't you? There used to be 27.
Bum, bum, bum.
Monty, do you know what it is?
I
Khalees
do,
does,
but I'm going to
clearly.
pretend like I don't.
I don't actually. I don't actually know what the extra one was.
This used to be the last letter of the alphabet. If we had been learning the alphabet in the 19th century, we would have ended our alphabet not with Z, but with ampersand. That and symbol. I remember my intro to logic class at UMass, and this is the first instance that I had to practice writing an ampersand, which of course stands for the word and. And someone in the class asked if we had to actually learn how to do the symbol, and the professor made it very clear that yes, we had to master this symbol. It looks sort of like a cursive S, but backwards.
If you can write a G clef, then you can write an ampersand, because those are also very close to each other, the treble clef.
Yeah. Now, the ampersand, this symbol was part of the English alphabet in the 19th century, but the date of its exact appearance in history is not exactly known, but we know it was before a particular well-known event.
Is it before the Normans came through and made us all French with our language?
No, it's older world, sorry. Right.
Older
it's
world.
continental as opposed to the island.
Ooh.
Yeah, so think further east.
Is it like ancient Latin?
Yeah, you're in the right neighborhood. The earliest known evidence of it is graffiti, anonymous graffiti, scrawled on the wall of the most famously ruined of all the ancient ruined cities.
Rome.
No.
Is that the most famous?
The one that's ruined most famously. Messily.
Oh.
Is it Pompeii?
Yes.
That was messily ruined.
Yes. What better way to get rid of your graffiti than burying it under a pile of ash and lava?
Yeah, right?
Yes, for it then to be recovered. That Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. And so we know that the ampersand symbol dates to before 79 AD because the symbol was found in the ruins of Pompeii. Now, this is according to Keith Houston, who has written a book. We talked about his book another time, but I just want to give the name again because it is such a fantastic book. The book is called Shady Characters, The Secret Life of Punctuation, Symbols, and Other Typographical Marks.
Again, with a really great website that accompanies it.
Yes.
Check out both.
Very fun.
Now, the ampersand originally was a ligature being a symbol that connects two letters together. And in Latin, it was originally the letters E and T drawn together as the Latin word et, meaning and.
Which still kind of gets used today, like as part of et al.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So why did it need a ligature between the two of them? Why couldn't they just write the two letters next to each other?
Because the graffiti artist didn't want to do that.
Oh, okay.
Word count is still important when graffiti is involved.
I don't know. I think that the actual inspiration for creating a ligature for this word is unknown. Maybe it could have been the same impulse that causes us to use it. Still, the pleasant conjoining of things through this lovely symbol. Who knows why those Latin speakers wanted to use this symbol as an ampersand for the word et, but they did.
Does the sound of ampersand equal that et, that et?
No, right? That's the weird thing. The reason we call it an ampersand actually dates back to between the 19th century, when it was part of our alphabet, and that eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Starting in the Middle Ages, single letters that also functioned as words, of which we basically just have I and A, were referred to as letters along with the phrase per se, which means that is. So when you would say the name of the letter I, you would say I per se I, which means I by itself. And then kind of with this parenthetical idea is the word I by itself I. Or you would say A per se A by itself. So when we had that lovely ampersand symbol at the end of our alphabet, we would say and per se and.
Ampersand.
Yes.
Oh, I get it.
Ampersand.
So it's sort of a mini portmanteau of
Yes.
all those
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I like to imagine children reciting the alphabet and getting to the end and just feeling like they're done with it. And they're just, ampersand.
I wonder how
And
the
everyone's saying,
alphabet.
yes.
How did they sing the alphabet song then? W, X, Y, and Z. Ampersand. It doesn't flow. Or
Yeah,
maybe
it
they
does
did it
not
like a
flow.
big dramatic
When-
and per se and.
When have you been known to encounter children singing songs who are worried about meter?
They learn the meter from us.
They do.
It's
they
our
do.
responsibility
I think
to
they are
teach
actually
the
concerned
meter.
about meter.
And that's not an easy
I mean,
one.
maybe the song is what did the symbol in.
Yeah, that could be. They were
Entirely
we gotta
possible.
cut this one out. I think if you sing it to like and many more,
Well, like
and
the-
per se and
The
you could do it.
alphabet song didn't always sound like that either. Like I can't remember the song that we borrowed to that
Twinkle,
became well, that-
twinkle, E, F, G.
It is also that, yes.
Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool?
So now I can't remember all the songs. It's a pile of them.
Sky so high. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'd be curious as to what the alphabet learning song was prior to that. But that at that point, we're also starting to get like way, way back because Twinkle Twinkle is Mozart.
Yes, it is.
Maybe they didn't use Mozart back then.
I'm pretty sure they did not.
No.
He was not available before the 1700s.
They just didn't have a song.
I don't think that that's true either.
It'd be fun to. That's a book to write.
Like,
Tracing the history of alphabet songs.
I mean, like, yes, and honestly, that's something that was sorely missed in my music history classes.
Yeah. When I had to learn the Greek alphabet and the Hebrew alphabet, I put them to other songs so that I would remember them because I was like, it worked for me when I was a kid with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
I feel like when you learn Spanish alphabet, that's not really possible because there's extra letters.
Well, you just have to make a longer song.
Yeah,
I
you just could
guess.
add like a couple beats.
Yeah. Too many extra beats.
Yeah. Back to ampersand, the 27th letter of the alphabet. We talked earlier this week with Radiolab and the International Astronomical Union about how sad we were that Pluto's no longer a planet. Maybe we should be sad that ampersand is no longer a letter.
It's one thing that it's not a letter, but it's another that we still basically use it in the same form. It just doesn't tack along as the letter it once was. Now it has evolved into punctuation.
Yeah. Yeah, it functions like a conjunction. I mean, I think the thing that makes it significantly different from every other member of the alphabet is that it is not used to form any words. So it only stands by itself. You can't spell the word sand with just an S and an ampersand.
Although
know?
I do have a college friend whose child's first and last names begin with M, and so their middle name is ampersand.
Really?
Like on paper, yes.
Wait.
Wow.
So they're M&M.
My name is. My name is.
Okay.
That's amazing.
But their child's middle name actually is ampersand.
Is ampersand. That's a fantastic middle name. I love it. But it is still true that the ampersand is not used to build words. It has no function as an orthographical character in the way that the letters of the alphabet do. It's not a letter.
Why include it with the alphabet in the first place?
I know. I don't know why they did that, but they did.
Well, we jokingly said that the alphabet song is what made it fall off of the alphabet. Do we know exactly why it fell off the actual alphabet?
We do not.
It just went away.
It just- yeah,
vestigial
yeah.
letters.
I rely on Keith Houston for all this sort of information, and he does not report an explanation as to its demise.
The ampersand gave the actual alphabet an Irish farewell.
Yeah, right? It just ghosted us.
Yeah.
Well, that's sad.
I mean,
I
it's
didn't
still
mean
there.
it to be a sad segment. I really didn't. It is there.
It's still
actually
there.
more there
It
than
just-
ever.
It just
It is
transitioned into
available.
a different thing.
You're now Shift 7.
Which is not a bad thing to be. I mean, it's very prominent on the keyboard. It's right.
Yeah.
It's right there.
And it's always nicer to see in a sign than the word "and" written out.
It is beautiful. I like it as a symbol.
Yes.
And by itself,
And per se and ampersand. I was trying to think, like looking at the keyboard right now, if there are other symbols that you would say as its own word. And I guess maybe plus. You could put the plus symbol in there and people would read it as plus. Or the greater than, less than. Percent.
well, the at
Yeah.
symbol we say at.
So it's not unique that way. None of those can claim that they were part of the English alphabet.
No.
No.
And maybe we should petition it back.
No. No,
Maybe-
too much trouble. And also, if it's not actually a part of words, unless we take a jazz emu stance on this.
What is that?
Jazz Emu is this British comedian. I'm pretty sure I've shown you this, but has a song called English Language where he goes through all of the weird ways that English pronounces things.
You need to pick a freaking lane with the sounds you're making, like O-U-G-H. It's said how it's spelled. Psych. It's O-L-O-O-F, up. What the is up with that? I'm so confused.
Well, I think that's a fun little tidbit there, Emily Brewster, that we used to have 27 letters in our alphabet, and now we no longer do, that we don't know why, and that it comes from ancient Pompeii, the ampersand. It's funny because all of those sad couples, as they watched Vesuvius erupt and lava flowing down, they were ultimately covered in ampersand. Or it turned into ampersand.
Oh.
Too soon?
Are there other languages that used the ampersand?
Yeah, I do not know that. I mean, I feel like I've seen it in other writing. I think it's used in German, at least. But I do not know the extent of the use of the ampersand in other European languages.
German also has a B that counts as two S's somehow.
Yes, that's another pretty one.
That's a BS. Emily Brewster, thank you so much as usual. If you have a question, compliment, critique, you can send it our way, thefab413@nepm.org. Thank you, Emily Brewster.
Thank you, Monty, and thank you, Khalees.
Sure. Always a pleasure.
We have an update on our ampersand from our resident young person, engineer Betsy Langto. What are you, Gen Z?
Barely. I'm technically millennial, but like by months.
Just like I'm Gen X, but technically millennial, I guess, too. You use the ampersand in your writing as a letter still. Is this true?
Yeah, in certain words. Usually just in chat rooms, if someone's banned, you say B ampersand for banned.
Because they've been banned.
They've been banned from the chat room.
Yeah. Is that the only word that it gets used on, or does it get used on other words?
I'm trying to remember, but that might be the only one that I can think of.
All right, well,
that still counts.
Do some more research with the kids.
I will.
And get back to us, and we
kiddos.
olds will incorporate it into the
I mean, if
dictionary's
we're
record.
using it, and if we're talking about like leading words, then like yes, ampersand still gets used in words, but like that's a whole different thing. I feel like than standard language.
I want to be in the band,
Maybe
like Bob
I
Dylan's
bet we
old
can
band,
use
but
it
I'm
for
going to
that.
spell it the B ampersand.
Yeah.
I bet that could be a new good band name for you.
My music teacher used the G clef when he spelled his name because it was Mr. Gould, and it looked really cool.
Yeah,
That does look cool.
I do quite like.
The G clef, not a letter.
Yes.
Despite starting with G.
Yes. The other one is the E clef. Anyway, or C clef. Tomorrow, however, speaking of music, it's Live Music Friday in the Fabulous 413, and we will welcome the man who started the Happy Valley Guitar Orchestra and literally built a better guitar so that he could more easily play Bach's lute music. Peter Blanchett joins us along with acclaimed Irish singer Eilis Kennedy. They are playing Bombix in Florence next week.
And we'll talk with the Berkshire-based organization 18 Degrees about their Kids for Harmony program as they begin to expand across the mountains into the valley. And we'll drink with the wine snobs at State Street. We leave you with Mal Devisa, who's tomorrow at City Space. I'm Monty.
I'm Khalees. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.